So here we're asked to solve the equation z squared plus 3z plus 8 is equal to 0. And we need to express the final answer for z in Cartesian form, which is where we have our real component plus our imaginary component. So looking at this, we can see that this is a quadratic equation. Okay, we have a squared term, a z term, and a constant term. So the way that we can solve those is using our quadratic equation. So if we write out our quadratic equation, it's the one where x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So our a, b, and c constants, they come from the constants inside the equation. So this is like az squared plus bz plus c equals 0. So a is the constant in front of the squared term, and in our case we have a 1. Okay, b is the one in front of the z term, so here we can see we have 3, and c is the constant, so it's going to be 8. And in our case, instead of solving for an unknown x, we're going to be solving for an unknown z. So we should now be able to substitute our constants into the equation. So negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 by 1 by 8, all over 2 by 1. Alright, so let's clean this up a little bit. So we're going to get negative 3 plus or minus 3 squared is 9, and then we have minus 4 times 8, which is 32. And that's all over 2. So let's put this together. So I think when you do that, you get negative 23 all over 2. Alright, so we've hit a bit of a snag here where we've got the square root of a negative number. But we know that we can use, if I squared is equal to negative 1, I is equal to the square root of negative 1. So we can use this in order to simplify our square root of negative 23. So we could write this as the square root of 23 times the square root of negative 1. Okay, because putting that back together, it just becomes the square root of negative 23. So we can say that square root of negative 1 is equal to our imaginary number. Cool. And so the last little bit here is just writing it in our Cartesian form. So we can put the 2 under both of our numerator parts. So it will be negative 3 on 2 plus or minus, this would be square root 23 on 2i. So that would be our answer, and we have 2 kind of solutions here then. So you could write them out separately if you wanted. One is negative 3 on 2 plus square root 23 on 2i, and the other is where you take the minus, so negative 3 on 2 minus square root 23 on 2i. Okay, so that's all there is for this particular question.